Welcome back, everybody, to the Still I Rise podcast. This is Lisa McKenzie, and today I am so honored to be sitting down with Dr. Mark Stalder. Dr. Stalder is a board-certified plastic surgeon and a reconstructive surgeon whose work in breast reconstruction has changed the lives of countless of women navigating their cancer journeys. With practices in the greater New Orleans area and on the North Shore in St. Tammany and also Mobile, Alabama, he's definitely very busy because he is also a dedicated father of 4, including triplets that he just had with his wife. Dr. Stalder brings not only surgical expertise to the table, but also deep compassion and an unwavering belief in the emotional side of healing, which is so important after something so major as a cancer diagnosis and the loss of your breast. Dr. Stalder is not just a doctor, he's a storyteller through his work. He's a quiet force behind the scenes and a treasured supporter of Unite. Today, he joins us to share what fuels his passion, how he finds his balance, and why programs like Unite are essential in the journey from surviving to thriving. Let's get to know the man behind the scalpel, Dr. Mark Stalder. Hello, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you so much for joining me. I know how busy you are, and particularly, as I mentioned in the lead-in, that you are now the new father of triplets. And how is that going for you?
It's kind of wild, It wasn't something that we were expecting, and I don't know. I guess I don't know any different. It's just this is my life.
How do you
I now have 3 babies, and I when I go home at the end of the day, there's like 15 people in my house. I mean, it's it like they say, it takes a village, right? Well, the village is all in my house.
Yes, and you have another son too, right?
I have a 3-year-old son as well. Yeah.
How does he like being the brother of these babies?
He's embraced it, really. I think he's handled it remarkably well. He really likes being the big brother, and he always wants to hold them and, try and help out and all that. So he's done well.
Well, everything I know about you, I mean, you have offices here. I'm sitting in your beautiful office in Uptown. You also work in Mobile, right? So how do you manage all of that, being the father of 4 children and then 2 thriving practices that cause you to have to do a little bit commuting?
Yeah. Well, it's a lot. It's not easy. I mean, really. And it's certainly not a one-man show. I mean, I think that's probably the most important point. It's I have a great team here in the office that really makes it all happen. I just show up, right, and do what I do in the OR, but they make it all happen and make sure it works. Up until go time, right? And there's a lot that goes into that, and especially with sort of this complicated practice that we have, and as busy as it is, and then the other component of that is my wife. I mean, she's part of the team too, in a different so important way.
What does she do for the practice?
Well, she helps out with some of the marketing and business development, and she's certainly my number one advisor, and she's a go-getter for sure.
That's wonderful that you have such a strong partner. And did she have something to do with the decor of this fabulous building?
She did. She had a lot to do with it. She worked with a decorator, Frances Treadway, who I think she's based on the North Shore. She's lovely. But it was really the 2 of them that put this all together and to what it is. I had a little bit of input, but it was Morgan and Frances.
Now, what is the address of this location? Where are we? Right.
Yeah, it's 6028 Magazine Street.
And how did you find this place? Did it used to have some kind of history behind what this used to be? Because it's a really beautiful building.
It's a beautiful building. No, I live in the neighborhood.
Okay.
And it was at a time where I was faculty at LSU and was looking at branching out, and having a private component of my practice, and that in my mind I wanted to have a home base, right, and something that was very nice and inviting and a place that patients could feel good coming to, and not so clinical and all that. And so I just happened to see this building for sale, and I just thought, this is perfect. I mean, it's just, it's a perfect location. I love the location, and just a good size. I mean, the layout really didn't have to change very much. I mean, we completely renovated it in the aesthetic sense, right?
That's what you do.
Yeah, it is.
You do that with women and with your building, apparently.
Yeah,
you reconstruct.
Well, and it's it's a little bit of a hobby or passion or whatever of ours. I grew up with renovations. My dad was a contractor. We never lived in a house that we didn't totally gut and renovate, or that was ever finished, for that matter. And so it's not unfamiliar to me, renovations and construction and whatnot. I don't claim to be a contractor. I don't have that level of expertise, but I do have some understanding of what goes into it, and I don't shy away from it. And so that was part of it, right? And my wife and I actually have started other projects since this one.
Really?
Yeah. So that's the other thing we do in our spare time.
In your spare time, which it sounds like you have plenty of time.
Historic rehabilitation projects. Seriously, we're doing one in the French Quarter right now.
Really?
Yeah, it's almost done.
Is it for residents or just?
It's a 6-unit apartment building that was in terrible condition, and we've restored it
for other people to live in, or for yourself. That's neat. Well, if it's anything like this, I just wish people had the opportunity to stop by and see your building. Every fixture, the chandeliers, and just even going in the bathroom, I was like, my goodness. Well, there's a lot of thought behind it.
Attention to detail matters.
Yes.
And particularly in my life and what I do. And so it was no different for this.
Yeah, you could tell you're an artist, and that I'm sure, based on what I've heard from your patients, you bring that to your work also.
Trust.
So do you also practice on the North Shore in St. Tammany?
I do.
And where do you usually do your work there?
Almost every hospital on the North Shore, actually. But my two main locations are in Covington at Avala Hospital. I do a lot of surgery there. It's a great facility. I do some work at St. Tammany, but less so. And then I do a lot in Slidell as well, at the Oxner facility there.
Okay, Slidell Memorial Hospital.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Wow, you cover a lot of territory. And Mobile, Alabama. Tell me how you ended up there.
Yeah, so it's a interesting story, I guess. We have friends there. It's again not an unfamiliar city to me. One of my very good friends from college is from there, and so we'd go back and do things in Mobile, in that area. And then my wife has some friends there that she worked with, and it just sort of, we were having a conversation with her friend and talking about what I do. And I guess she had someone in her life that had stage 4 breast cancer. And she was just telling us that, they weren't really thrilled with the reconstructive options available. And it's just, we're in a bit of a hotbed of breast reconstruction in New Orleans. So a lot of people that live here don't realize that. It's not like this everywhere else.
You mean the options that people have?
Yes.
Wow.
Because a lot of these procedures were started here. And
I was just going to say, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that is it's sad for knowing that there must be so many places around the country where you really are stuck with options. So to know that there's so many options here is is really something we take for granted.
If you need to be a breast cancer patient, New Orleans is the place to be.
Wow.
So that sort of just put the spark in my head, and a friend of mine from medical school and from training, Dr. Lindsay Beagley, is a breast oncology surgeon in Mobile, and so I called her up and just said, do you think that it would make any sense for me to try and come over here and do some of this stuff? And she was very enthusiastic, and it took, I don't know, a year and a half just to get it all set up and finally get started. And
how long ago was that?
I have been seeing patients and operating there for a little over a year and a half now. It was late 2023 when I had my first clinics there. It's just growing at a remarkable pace.
People find out that it's an option, right?
Yes, that's right.
Well, I wanted to ask you about those options because I have not had cancer. I'm very blessed. My mom has, and many of my friends have. But when you are working with a patient, I mean, obviously they have other options, but you specialize in what's called deep flap, right?
Yes. Well, right. So autologous reconstruction or perforated flap reconstruction. The deep flap is the most well-known and most performed, but there's actually quite a few other options along the same lines. Yeah.
But is that what you bring to Mobile? Is that kind of the special?
It is, yes.
And so what makes it so special? What would a patient find that they like that compared to other options?
Absolutely. And the data supports that. So there's a couple of things that go along with that, right? So basically the premise is you're using your own living tissue to make a natural breast, right? The other option is a silicone breast implant. And which I also offer, right? I mean, this is not a one-size-fits-all deal, right? Everybody has different preferences, anatomy, different situations in their life, and my job is just present all the options so that they can make the decision that's best for them. But what's different, breast implants for reconstruction, you're essentially signing up for maintenance surgery. Okay. And, implants don't last forever, right? There are devices, they wear out, they have to be exchanged, they can cause issues with the tissue, around them. And so a lot of people don't realize that, right? They don't understand that that's not the end, and many women don't want a silicone breast. They never wanted one. They don't want one now. And
because it doesn't feel natural.
It does not. No, it does not feel natural. And it can actually be quite uncomfortable. And in particular, in the setting of if a patient needs radiation, then it's really there's a very high complication and failure rate. Over half of women that get implants with radiation, have bad outcomes, essentially.
You guys aren't happy when you have to make those kind of decisions when there's implants.
Right. And so this other option, obviates all of that. And it is sort of a definitive reconstructive option. You're using your own tissue. There's not a foreign object there. You're the overlying skin, your body. There's no issues with your body conforming to that, right? And accepting it. And there's no long-term issues that are associated with a natural breast reconstruction. There is no maintenance surgery. And certainly, again, in the setting of radiation, this is really the gold standard because you're putting fresh, healthy, living, non-radiated tissue to reconstruct the breast. Yeah. And so it just makes a huge difference in the quality of life. And just, women want to be done.
Yeah.
They don't want to go through this. They have to, right? It's cancer. It is what it is for those that have that diagnosis. But when they get through it all, they don't want to think about this again. They want to just move on with their lives and obtain a quality of life again, right? So this provides that.
Yeah. Some of our ladies will complain that they get, comments like, oh, well, and you also got a tummy tuck and, but they say, like, some people don't understand that's not the goal of the reconstructive surgery, is to end up having other parts of your body look fabulous also. But that is a side benefit, right?
It is. No,
So why not be feeling fabulous when you walk out, right?
well, absolutely. And look, I'll tell you, until, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, when this stuff started to be performed a little bit more regularly and more universally adopted, the abdomen, the donor site for the deep flap tissue, was often ignored, by the plastic surgeons. Right? We're so focused on making the breast and performing that very complicated surgery successfully, that a lot of times the abdomen was overlooked. And but that's changed now. And so, to your point, it really, it's a you break it, you fix it mindset, at least for me. And I think for most people that do this in a real way now, that they think about it the same way. It should really look like you had a tummy tuck when you're done. You have to go through this big surgery. You're going to have this scar, right? But you can place it in a way that is, less obvious. It's aesthetic. It's, we do, contouring of the abdomen afterwards. We'll fix the muscle. We want it to look good. It's the whole thing is an aesthetic unit, the whole trunk, right? It's not, you don't just look at the breast and then forget everything else. It's all connected. It's all together. So that's how I think about it anyway, right? It all needs to look good. If you have perfect reconstructed breast but a terrible abdomen, what have we done?
Yeah.
Right? It all needs to work.
I think it's so sweet, because after everything that a woman goes through with breast cancer and having to make all the decisions, and then, of course, just the side effects and recovery from surgery, what would ever be wrong with her walking out feeling like $1 million?
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that's the goal.
Yeah.
That is the goal.
Yeah.
I want these patients to look and feel as good as they possibly can after going through this, right? When they look in the mirror, they shouldn't see, I had breast cancer and, mastectomies and reconstruction. They should just think, I look really good, and, this is, I feel good, and let's get on with life.
Right. I love, for us, we see so many women enter our program who are so sad, and they're at various stages of the process. But as they, mature through the program, sometimes they're in the program, but a lot of times it's a year after, 2 years when they're alums. And you just see the way that they've changed. I just such a lesson that everybody should take with them, that, kind of to trust the process, right? Mm-hmm. And you're part of that process.
And it is a process.
Right. So what is the process that what is the hard part that you have to figure out with ladies when they're starting that journey?
Well, it all starts with the plan, right? And talking to the patient about what their goals are, what they want to see happen, helping them to understand the advantages and disadvantages of each of those options. And then once we have that established, then we can come up with the individualized surgical plan for each patient and their scenario, their anatomy, their body, right, and their goals, and then it's just about getting there, I don't know if any part of that process is, quote unquote, the hard part. I guess delivering, right? Just actually, once you have the plan, you got to deliver on it and make sure that it all goes well. But I think,
when you're saying that, what's the hard part? I think if I was in somebody's shoes, it's just being able to truly trust your doctor, because you're saying things that people are just like, okay, well, I kind of trust you on that advice, because you are kind of just like in this probably fog of like, I don't know what to do, just make me look good and make me feel good.
Well, I think certainly that's the hard part for the patient, right? It's like a whirlwind.
Yeah.
And they say that all the time. It's a whirlwind. You get the diagnosis, and then just, you meet with, so many different physicians trying to understand things that you've never heard of or thought about or ever considered before. And that's difficult. And so you're absolutely right. They do have to trust their treating physicians, and they have to feel comfortable with their treating physicians and surgeons. And it's very important. And my job is to just do the best I can to help them understand those options in a way that makes sense to them so they can make the best decision possible.
Yeah. Have you ever treated men?
For breast cancer?
Yes.
I have not maybe once or twice when I was in training. I haven't done much since I've been in practice now that I can remember.
I was studying on that men also can have breast reconstruction.
Sure. Well,
right?
Men can have breast cancer. I just saw a patient very recently who has a sister who has breast cancer and a brother, and all of them are BRCA gene mutation positive. So they're all going to have, one of them has active cancer and being treated, but the other patient, the other sister and the brother are going to have prophylactic mastectomies.
Wow. All at the same time.
Well, I mean, I don't.
Crazy.
The ones that don't have active cancer have the luxury of sort of planning this out a little
yes.
bit. But I mean, you're not going to wait forever. It's happening soon once they figured out they had this issue, and so it's. I guess, that's taking the bull by the horns a little bit, right? Which is good, getting the initiative. But after the fact, breast reconstruction for a man, I can't think of a case where I've actually had to do that.
Yeah, because I know that it exists, and I think it's a stigma for men to have it. They probably aren't as public about their experience. I mean, I know with us, we don't have anybody who comes forward to say, hey, I've got a male who has breast cancer and I'm kind of going through a rough time, but they're out there.
They are.
So,
yeah, they are. Obviously not as common, but
and
it doesn't get talked about very much.
No, I was just curious about that. We'll have to do a little bit more research on what that statistic is as far as how many people are dealing with that, because I hope that the men, if there are any listening, know that there are solutions for them also.
Absolutely.
So tell me, is there any part of your job that is the hardest part when it comes to meeting with a patient that you have to kind of like sometimes walk out of the room and just take a deep breath or?
Well, patients can get emotional about when we're talking about this stuff. Everybody's different. Everybody responds to this different. It's always interesting to me to see how each individual handles this diagnosis and their situation, all the news. I think part of my job though is to kind of be strong for them and with them and help them through it, because I do see it every day.
Yeah.
Right. I see it every day. I mean, this is my practice. This is what we do. 95% of my practice is breast cancer reconstruction. So I understand what they're going through as well as anyone can who hasn't actually had breast cancer. And so you just have to kind of take the cues and give each patient what they need in that moment.
If you were to divide up the journey of what a breast cancer patient goes through, are you the last part?
I am the last one on the field. Yes. Which I actually appreciate. It's good because I get to see them at the very end and help put the pieces back together again. And so, I get to see the sort of the rebound and the smiles and the feeling good that they're, the treatment is complete and now we're looking good and feeling good. And
because they themselves have reached a finish line.
Yes.
They've had to go through so much prior to that. Do you have any kind of advice for women when they are trying to make decisions about, their treatment plan on how to manage their emotions or manage the process so that they can know that there is that finish line? Well,
a couple of things, trust your doctors, right? If they tell you need this chemotherapy or you need this radiation or this is going to reduce your chance or you need this surgery, these things are going to, give you the best chance of beating this thing and reduce your risk of a recurrence or, anything down the road. They're not making this stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
This is all based on mountains of data over many, many years. And so that's the first thing I would tell patients. Try not to be overly skeptical. It's not for us. It's really for them, and trying to get them to make the best decisions possible and have the best outcomes. That's what we want, the best outcomes. And then the other thing is, in particular for patients that have to have chemotherapy or have to have radiation or, have a more complicated case, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint to the finish. It's going to take time. And I think it's important to understand that, sort of settle in for the fight.
What do you mean by that? Like, are you talking about from the very beginning at the time of the diagnosis or from surgery? Like, what is that?
From the beginning.
Yeah.
From the beginning. And again, depending on the clinical scenario, the surgical journey could take a while. If you have to introduce radiation, you have to introduce these things, that just adds time to the process. And it's a battle, but you can't just skip steps and get to the end. It just doesn't work that way,
right. Be patient and just know that eventually it will.
There is a light at the end. That's right.
Yes.
There is an end.
What do you ever have any conversations with your ladies about Unite or what they get out of the program or what you've seen as far as a benefit? I don't talk to them myself a ton about the different programs and Unite. I do have my staff try to inform our patients about what's available to help, because I think it's important. I think, Unite offers something a little bit unique. It's focuses on, connecting with other women that have that are going through the same journey or have gone through the same journey, which nobody can understand it in the same way, right? That those ladies can. And so I think that's a big part of it, but then it's also just focusing on moving on in life, right? And reconnecting with life and feeling good about yourself. And so, every program has its purpose, and this is what I see as Unite's purpose, and I think that's wonderful. I have seen it. I absolutely have seen it in our patients. And I know that you are a fairly new sponsor. Last year was your first year with us,
Correct.
And we really appreciate your support. And we're super excited about our event coming up in October. I hope it's on your calendar to attend.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And one of the gals who actually is an oncology nurse at Slidell Memorial Hospital, who is now a patient,
Mm-hmm.
she shared with the group just a couple of days ago. She said, as an oncologist or a nurse, oncology nurse, I thought that I knew a lot. And she said, I always told the ladies, it's mental, you have to have a strong mental battle. And she said, until I got cancer, and then I understood what that really meant. She said, if anybody says you have to be strong, she said, you don't even realize what that truly means until you are in that fight.
I believe
it
that.
Stirs up a lot of things in your brain that, past traumas that you've dealt with and things like that. And that's one of the reasons I like Unite also, is that women get to just sort of get a lot of junk out of their head. And so by the time they get on that stage, it really is sort of that moment of like, I deserve to be here. And,
Absolutely.
I deserve to be happy and feeling good after everything I've been through.
I agree. Yeah. And I see it.
Yeah. So I'm so glad. Do you have any final words that you would like to share about anything? Oh, I want to hear, what are any plans for Mobile as far as growth or anything going on that we should know about?
Well, there's already been some expansion of my practice in that market. I started, like I said, working with Dr. Lindsay Beakley at Providence Hospital there. But then since the start of the year, I also work in Fair Oak at Thomas Hospital with Dr. Caitlin Holmes.
Such a beautiful city.
It is. So it's lovely.
Yes.
It's lovely. And she's fairly new to that area. She's been in practice for several years, but just started down there, and they, were really focused on starting a comprehensive breast cancer program. And so she reached out to me actually, and I've been operating there since January or February now. So it
That's
just keeps
great.
growing.
So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you for your services, do they reach out to those individual hospitals, or would you suggest reaching out to Stalder Plastic?
Yeah, reach out to Stalder Plastic Surgery. Our information is all available online.
Okay.
We have a website, we have an Instagram page, the kind of the usual stuff. And so our numbers are out there.
Okay. And then the first thing they'd reach out and then they'd come in for a consultation or something. Is that how that works?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, I just am so grateful that you took the time. I know how incredibly busy you are, and it's such a pleasure sitting down with you today. And I can't wait to celebrate your patients as well as celebrate the work that you do on October 18th at our event.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been lovely.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me today on the Still I Rise podcast. Be sure to tune in next week, where we will be joined by Dr. Jimmy Ellis. He's a medical oncologist at Touro Infirmary in New Orleans. Together, we're going to tackle one of the biggest unspoken stressors for cancer survivors, and that's the fear of a relapse. No matter how many years pass, the thought of hearing the words, "Your cancer is back," can be paralyzing. Dr. Ellis shares powerful insights and practical strategies to help survivors loosen the grip of fear and live fully in the present. Don't miss this empowering conversation that offers hope, perspective, and tools for reclaiming peace of mind. See you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in today and listening to the story. Please do us a favor, click the subscribe button and consider a donation. Did you know just for $3 a month, you will be supporting such a huge project where we can get the stories and the voices of these amazing survivors out to the world so that others can find hope, information, and inspiration. Your support means the world to us, and also the fact that you're here today means everything to us. Have a beautiful day.